Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions from the worlds of TV, film, pop culture, social media, sports, everything really. We talk about it all depending on the guest. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on social media, you know me as PD Beats. Season 2 of The Order recently dropped on Netflix, and we are speaking to someone who you will see in Season 2 of The Order. He is an actor. We are speaking to Madison Smith. Madison, welcome to Popternative, man.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
No problem. It's pretty crazy because, you know, your character, The Order kind of came out last year. Season 2 just dropped. You kind of show up in Season 2. What is that like for you coming into as like a newer character to a show that's already been established? It's a little different, you know what I mean?
Honestly, I cannot wait till I'm the part of like something from the beginning, those early steps of trying to figure that out. But coming in the second season, this is actually my second time getting a chance to do that. I came into the second season of Salvation.
Yep.
And you know, when you do that, you already have this roadmap of what the world is.
Yeah.
You get to see, you know, what's the tone, what is, you know, what's happening. You don't ever have those question marks. Sometimes, you know, you're trying to collaborate as much as you can with the writers and the creators from those get-goes to make sure you're making their vision come to life.
Yep.
But at the same time, if you're joining the second season, you get to go, okay, here's what they did. Here's what I really enjoyed about it. Let's lean into that. And so you get to sort of, even from the audition process, go, okay, I think I know what they need, or I think I know what they're going for. I think I know what they don't have already on the show. So like to a point, Orban is someone who's a little different than everybody that's already there. And if I played him anyway, or like, you know, Adam DeMarco did, or anything like any of these characters on the show, if I've done my audition to emulate them, all of a sudden Orban isn't an original character and he doesn't fit into the world. So that's been the kind of coolest part about joining a second season, is you do get this, you know, ease of, okay, I know what world I'm coming into.
Because I feel like too, though, that's a good point, but I feel like too, it might be kind of difficult too, because you are kind of like the new kid on the block a little bit, right? I mean, that cast was like together for one season. You come in, it's the same thing when I interviewed Jessica Francis Dukes from Ozark. She came in season 3. She came in as a fan, but you know, they've been already established and have the same cast and crew for a few seasons. She shows up, so it was like a little different in the beginning, but I'm sure you guys are all pros. You adapt to everything, you know what I mean?
100%. And honestly, I mean, if you have that, sometimes it adds to the dynamics of the scene. I mean, depending on who you're with, if I'm just a part of the group, that's a different story a little bit. Like I obviously have my own sort of separate storyline with Sarah Gray and with Jake. So basically we have our own thing. So to a point, even though they were a part of the show, they were coming into my world, which was being introduced.
For sure.
So we were all in that same boat together. As where, yeah, you're right. If I was, you know, one of a new werewolf, all of a sudden, it would be kind of a little bit like, hey guys, so I'm going to be in this room, and I don't do my laundry.
I feel like the show really kind of, so I remember like when I watched like season 1 of that show, like I feel like you kind of knew the werewolf aspect was going to happen, but I feel like they did a good job kind of like not spoiling the fact that it was about, because we know it's about underground magic and all that, but like you don't know much that's going to be about werewolves, and I think that's kind of like a little bit of a pleasant surprise, you know what I mean?
It's a phenomenal surprise, because even the first episode of season 1, so that's the greatest part about auditioning and actually getting to work on it, is I was a fan of season 1 and I auditioned for the Jack Morton role, as did almost everybody in Vancouver. So I auditioned for it, which meant I got to read the script. So I remember reading the script, and, you know, there's the monster in the first episode that turns out to not be any kind of monster that they expected. And then the end of the episode happens, and Jack gets turned into a werewolf, but like you don't really see it. So all the marketing material was for the pilot episode, which meant that all the werewolf stuff kind of was like waited till the end. And it's I don't know if you'll equate this to it, but a movie that I always really loved, that Tom Cruise movie, the Live, Die, Repeat, or Edge
Yeah.
of Tomorrow. So I would have loved if the movie had done a trailer for it where it was just like this world war, or like, you know, this alien war
Yeah.
where he's fighting them with this big suit, and then you get to the movie and you go, oh my gosh, it's a time travel movie. Like I would have loved if that was.
But you know what I'm saying, right? Like we knew it was about underground magic and everything, but the werewolf thing kind of came from like left field a little bit.
And I love that they were able to do that and still draw people in. That's the coolest part. If you can surprise somebody with an even bigger part of your show that you don't put into the your pilot or your trailer, that's
man,
huge.
it left like for the people that are watching this, like they've watched season 1 and 2 of The Order, right? So like I'm assuming, I'm hoping, you know what I mean? But like season 1, man, that like ended so like, what are you doing? Like, why do I have to wait a whole year for this? You know what I mean? Like it was just like that's why it's even better to kind of wait a little bit and then watch season 1 and 2. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
I mean
like if you get a chance to like binge them together, and it's like watching something a second time, seeing things a second time. Because you know, I've heard of a lot of fans have said that, you know, do I rewatch season 1 or rewatch season 2 already? And I love that. But
sure.
It's like if you have a year between when the first season comes out and the second season comes out, then you actually have that excuse to kind of go, all right, I'm going to rewatch season 1 from the beginning, getting ready for season 2.
For sure. There's a lot of streaming services out there, but Netflix specifically, Madison. Netflix, you look at Netflix, you're on The Order. The Order is part of this crop of TV shows that have an amazing fandom for, like, I call them, people say like teens. I don't refer to them, I call it young adults. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's this crop. I mean, you look at The Order, you look at, I mean, the obvious ones, right? Like Stranger Things, but then you look at Outer Banks, The Umbrella Academy, The Society, you know what I mean? These are all on Netflix. Netflix has created like a family on my block. Netflix has created a family of these like young adult phenomenon shows, you know what I mean? Like, what's your opinion on all of that as being kind of an actor who's part of one of those shows from that crop I'm talking about?
I mean, I think it's phenomenal how widespread like the amazing shows are on Netflix. I mean, you mentioned Ozark earlier, and I mean, like same thing. Like it's just
you forget some of them. I forget some of them when I'm listening to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of awesome to be a part of, you know, a show that's on a network that just, you know, takes chances and does that with different things. And the best part, and the reason a lot of these shows are so successful, is they are entertaining. I mean, that's what anybody who asks me like what kind of tone is The Order, I'll be like, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
And they're like, what does that mean? I'm like, you'll just enjoy it. You'll like the story, you'll like the characters, you'll like the humor.
It's really cool though, man. Like it's a really unique show. Like it's like it kind of falls into that crop what we talked about, you know, the young adult and all that. But like it really, if you start comparing it, you look at other shows like a lot of the CW shows. You were part of one of those CW shows with Riverdale. You look at those shows, and it's like there's a formula and there's a thing. You look at The Order, and there's some stuff that happens in that show that like is really like unorthodox compared to a lot of other things we've seen on shows.
Yeah, even being a part of it, I mean, this is a little like not behind the scenes stuff, but when we get the episodes are done in 2-episode blocks.
Yeah.
So pretty much, I saw someone online saying, I don't get this part 1 and part 2 stuff. But what it is instead of being a 10-episode show, it's a 5-episode show, but each episode is 2 hours. So it really lets them explore the storyline. So even just looking at my 2 episodes where it comes to when you meet Orban, and then the next episode where he's, you know, doing some mean stuff to Jack and treason.
Yeah, you're not a nice guy.
I'm not exactly. I don't think I'm a bad guy. I'll say that.
You're misunderstood.
Exactly. I'm on the problem is, and that's where, you know, I'll defend myself just because I am the character. But a lot of times, you know, you have to do it as, I'm not a bad guy, I'm just on the other side.
No, for sure. But
And
sometimes we see your character and we're like, oh my God, get out of here. Like, get out
yeah,
of here. Or, you know what I mean? But you're probably like, thank you. That's the point a little bit, right? As an actor, right?
exactly. Oh, 100%. And that was the thing, is like, my hope was, I every time I did a scene, it was like, okay, I've got my allegiances, and then I've got my feelings for Alyssa. So I've got to toe that line of like, doing what I have to, but also, making sure not to harm the person that I care about. So those were like really fun things. But yeah, over the course of, 2 episodes, we get to see, the introduction, the manipulation, and then the real side of everything all over the course of 2 episodes, is where sometimes in other shows, that'll all happen in one 42-minute episode. But having 2 1-hour episodes as being told kind of as one, you really get to flesh it out, and it ends up feeling like an arc similar to like a movie, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
no, dude, and that's perfect segue. We are in like the golden age of television, the renaissance of television, dude. Come on, man! Like these shows that are out here right now, isn't it crazy?
Oh gosh, like I love TV, and I think the world, and these 10 episode seasons rather than the 22, because there are some shows that really are successful with the 22 episodes, 42, like the Berlanti universe, all the Flash, the Arrowverse, all those.
Stargirl, which
They
is amazing too.
exactly, they have that similar old system where it is told over the course of a long time. The an arc of a season may have 2 villains, because you can't stretch one villain too far. But then when you look at these streaming shows, and HBO did it pretty early,
Yeah.
but it was one of those things where, it's let's tell everything, we'll give you a better, fuller episode, and we'll tell you in less episodes so that you can see things. I mean, one of my favorite shows of all time is The Newsroom. And The Newsroom,
Love that show.
some seasons the last season was 6 episodes.
Yeah.
And it felt amazing because you were telling this one story. And I remember thinking, watching it back, I was like, is it only 6 episodes? This is impossible. Like, I
Yeah.
can't, this doesn't.
Well, did
So
you
yeah,
see?
this golden age.
Did
yeah,
you see the news about Ozark? About the like? Did you hear about that?
they're gonna
That
do a
isn't that
longer final
interesting?
season.
14 episodes.
Just to like, and I'd love that to give the storytellers this extra cushion.
But
to
that's a
tell the
great
story.
kind of like opposite of what you talked about with the Newsroom with 6 episodes, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah, and
obviously they
sometimes
felt
you need
like
it, sometimes you don't.
they felt like it's gonna be like there's not much more of the story, but there's enough to make it longer. Like it's gonna be a longer story for the season, like season 4. But I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea. I mean, that's the final season, but 14, like that's gonna be. I'm wondering if they're gonna like not release it. I'm wondering if they're gonna do half. Like I'm wondering if
They
they're gonna
might do a
release
part
like
one and a
yeah.
part two or something like that. I mean, it's never a bad idea to keep people excited. I mean, this is one of those things that I would love to see happen, is like a Netflix theater. I would absolutely love it if, movies that come out on Netflix, a month before they're available on Netflix, are available in theaters. So then that would kind of be like you don't have to worry. But then they also maybe air like pilots or season finales of
Yep.
certain shows. Like, so every night you could go see the pilot, and then you could go see the season finale in a week, whatever it is. And like, same thing, you wait to air that
Yeah.
on actual Netflix, so you could go see it in the big theater with like, I don't know how many
Well,
people would go.
I had
would.
some friends that had this method that I never liked. That like they did it with Game of Thrones, where they would like watch every episode of a season except the last episode. So then when they had the next season come out, they do like the finale of like one of the seasons, and then they'd watch the pilot back to back. But it's
Yeah.
just like if there's something insane that happens before the finale of a season, then like you're torturing yourself, and it's not like you have
Oh,
to
yeah.
wait. Like it's available. You know what I mean?
And you're gonna get spoiled for sure. The only thing I'll say that I have similar to that is when Breaking Bad came out,
Mhm.
the last season, I basically waited to watch the last 5 episodes for 7 months. I remember waiting 7 months to watch the last, because I didn't want it to be over.
Yeah.
So then I was just like, it felt like, when you have the last 2 cookies in the jar, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna eat those today. So I did that, and I waited, and then I just binged them, and then I was
Well,
like, oh,
those shows, I
want
feel
more.
like I've had the honor to interview people that have been on those shows. Like I interviewed, Charles Baker, who played Skinny Pete on Breaking Bad,
Oh,
and
awesome.
there's like no shelf life for shows like that. Like people are gonna be able to watch that show. Like if someone never got into Breaking Bad, like it's all fair, but like someone's gonna go and like binge that right now. Same thing with like shows like Sons of Anarchy, you know what I mean? And then in the comedy stuff, like I've been rewatching The Office like over and over.
Always.
Because like
The
I also had a chance to interview Melora Hardin, who played Jan on The Office,
Mhm.
and like there's zero shelf life. Like people are gonna be watching that show over and over forever. It seems like.
Oh yeah, and I have, this is a weird little thing about me, but I watch TV when I go to sleep, and I have
Yeah.
rules to what I watch because it has to be something that I have already seen before, and it has to be something I enjoy. So basically, I am intrigued enough to have it on, but I can fall asleep and not like be
I'm
upset
kind of the
about it.
same way. Like sometimes I'll put on a new show, but like if I'm like really tired, like I don't want to like fall asleep. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I started watching The Umbrella Academy at night
Yeah.
after long days of work, and that was not a good idea because I was dozing off. But it wasn't because I love that show, right? But it was just because like you need to be like with it to
Yeah.
watch shows like that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, the first season of Stranger Things came out, and I started watching at 8 o'clock, and I remember stopping watching at 4 a.m. and I went, that sucked. Not
Yeah.
sucked about like the show, but that sucks that it's 4 a.m. and I need to go to sleep.
Oh, there's so many. It's there's so many shows out there, man. It's crazy to see. But Madison, thank you so much for coming on Popternative, man. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, man. So people can watch season 2 of The Order now on Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now on Netflix. It came out July 18th. One of the cool things, like it's been in the top 10 in a lot of places for over 2 weeks, which has been really cool. I think people are starting to really enjoy it.
I'm
Like I
wondering if
said,
people are going to write books or articles about like this age of like quarantine shows. You know what I mean? Because
Well-
shows that got like Outer Banks became like one of the biggest shows of all time
huge.
during quarantine.
You need some. Look at Tiger King. Tiger King, same thing. Like
Did you watch Tiger King?
Oh, of course I watched Tiger King.
I interviewed Saf on Tiger King.
Oh,
Yeah, he was
Yeah, like-
awesome. He was talking about. He was like, he didn't realize how like big it was gonna get.
oh, there's no way to know. There's no way to know anything. You hope a few people watch it. You hope that, even with The Order, like you're hoping that people enjoy it. But like when you see that people are still tweeting about it 2 weeks later, and I get new people sort of saying, hey, I just watched The Order, and I saw you're on it. Like friends of mine that I haven't seen since I was 12 years old, and like it's super cool to see that. Because Netflix releases it all at once, people can watch at their own leisure without,
Absolutely.
yeah, of course there are spoilers, but it's not the same kind of spoilers as like that big reveal at the end. I mean, there's one massive spoiler at the end of The Order season 2, but at the same time, this is a weird little thing, but they actually say that when spoilers happen, it actually people enjoy shows more when there's a spoiler that they know about. Like they did a university study of books letting people know the ending versus not.
Sometimes it's unavoidable though, man. Like 13 Reasons Why final season. I mean, like I don't know if you watched that show, but did you watch that show?
I haven't seen the last season, but I do watch 13
But
Reasons
like
Why. Yeah.
there's a spoiler in that season that like you try. I tried my best to like it just popped up and I was like, damn, and then it happened like the episode after I watched, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it can, like, if it's almost like, I hope nobody watches Fight Club knowing anything about what their personalities are, but at the same time, watching it a second time, you kind of go, oh my gosh.
Going in fresh on stuff, like I went in fresh with The Order and I had like no idea what it was gonna be. I was like, this is same thing with like The Society. Like, that's one of my favorites. I can't wait I know they're doing a second season of that, but I love that show on Netflix. But like, it's great when you go in fresh, Madison, because it's like it's a pleasant surprise. You know what I mean? You just kind of go for the ride.
Pleasant surprise is up there. But I'm always just saying that, like, even if you do have a spoiler, I mean, don't be the kind of person who reads the last page of the book. But at the same time, if someone says, just wait till you get to the chapter with the fighting and you're like, oh no, I can't wait. Now you read for it.
Yeah.
I remember doing that with Hunger Games. I actually thought Hunger Games was a 3 books. Like, you know how it's, you know, Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and then Mockingjay. I thought that all 3 books were the same Hunger Games, like that they go into the Hunger Games. The second book is like them in, and then it ends.
Yeah.
So I powered through the first one and then was like, how are the games over? Like there's only 2 people left. What's going on? Like I thought this was gonna be over the course of 3 books. I thought it was like the Lord of the Rings kind of, where it was like, you know, it starts and then it's over the
Yeah. That's true. I didn't think about that. That's
because someone's like, yeah, so it's a 3 books and they go and it's like this tournament where people fight and kill each other. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait. I'm going to read this. And like, you know, there's 3, so I have to power through this so I can get to the second and the third one. And then, yeah, it was like, how are they going to do 3 books with just 2 people?
Do you remember, man, that reminds me of, because of Hunger Games and the competition aspect, like, one of the Harry Potter books when it came out, like my favorite one was like the Goblet of Fire, because it was like a cup with the school. I know, right? Like it was like how cool is that? Like, it was like a cup and schools are competing. Like that was awesome.
Oh, Goblet of Fire was the first time to a point like that the Harry Potter books became this, like, you know, the first 3 were these stories. It was, you know, they were chapter books, but they were stories to a point. You know, Harry Potter 1, if you reread it, it can take you like an hour and a half, because it's literally like Harry's a kid, now he's a wizard, now he's in school, now he fights a dog, and now he saves the school and gets 100 points from Gryffindor. Like that's the whole thing. The movie actually feels longer than the book does. But then once you get to the Goblet of Fire and you kind of go, oh my gosh, like there is such a,
it's
like,
so cool. It's so cool how
intricate.
it's so cool how they wrote in like the Voldemort stuff with the Goblet of Fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy to see. Like I think of like you take an event, right? Like obviously, so the reason I think Titanic forever will be one of the biggest and best movies of all time is because they took a real event and created a fictional story in the, like, that took place on the event, right?
Totally.
So the thing with Jack and Rose, like, that never happened, right? That was fiction.
No, it was made up but
come on, like, isn't that crazy that they were able to do that? Like, they created like a full out like love story with a scandal, with a diamond and everything on this like event that actually happened, right?
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
is kind of with the Goblet of Fire, right? There's this big cup competition, and then like in the background, shit's going down. You know what I mean?
In the story, yeah. And I'll say this while we're on Titanic, this is a weird thing I've seen on the internet recently, and I want to kibosh it right now. Some people are saying that, you know, Jack was a figment of Rose's imagination, and I gotta kibosh that 100%, because the only reason the story exists is because Jack drew a photo of Rose.
Yeah.
If there wasn't a Jack, then there is no story. The story can't exist without the guy who drew the picture that they found underwater.
Yeah.
So anybody who thinks Jack is fictional or in a figment of her imagination, it's impossible, because then the movie doesn't exist. So anybody who's listening, he was real.
Yeah, for sure. But man, I could talk to you about movies and TV shows for like, I feel like this is crazy.
Easy.
Yeah. Where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything, man?
Twitter and Instagram. My handle is Madosmith21, MADO Smith21. I was a hockey player as a kid, which meant you either put a Y or an O at the end of your name, and mine ended up with an O. So Madosmith21.
Well, you know what, man? Hockey is my thing. Like I work in hockey. Awesome. So that's I'm interested. I'm finding out all these guests that I'm interviewing. Like I interviewed Hunter Sansone from Stargirl on DC Universe, and like I'm finding out that people are like, wow, like I checked your feed, like you've interviewed so many NHLers. Like I didn't know you were a hockey person. Where did you play hockey? Did you play like?
I mean, and that's the thing is hockey. Oh, so I played. I tried out for the WHL, which is you know, where you kind of get drafted in the NHL out of. I tried out for 2 teams here in British Columbia. Well, one actually, I tried out in Seattle and in Chilliwack.
So you're from Vancouver,
I
right?
didn't make. I'm from a place called Prince George. That's where I grew up, but I've been living in Vancouver.
You didn't try out for the Cougars?
So the Cougars, like that, it was like you could sort of choose between the teams that you could try out if you got letters, and I got letters from those two teams. So I tried out for both of them. I got into a fight in both camps, which was a lot of fun. But I remember I also tried out for what's called the BCHL, which is,
of course,
this is where you sort of get scholarships to go to the United States.
Believe me, like, trust me, like you don't have to explain. I'll tell you off air. Like, you don't have to explain any of that.
Sounds good. But so I tried out and I didn't make it. But then I was working at a sports store in town, and the owner was the owner of the sports store. So he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, Madison, like, if you ever want to be on the team, like, we could find a space for you." Like, and I was like, "That's so kind of you. Like, I that means so much. Would I have to fight?" And he's like, "Yeah, probably every game." And I was like, "I'm good. I'm gonna keep my nose like this way instead of that way."
I feel like next time you come on, like, we definitely have to talk about like the transition from like a hockey player to like a storyteller, because that's awesome. But seriously, man, thank you so much, and congrats on season 2 of The Order, man. It's awesome. Your character is really
Hopefully
cool.
People go watch
even though you're kind of annoying, but that's the point. But good job, man.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. And until next time, this is Madison Smith and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.